welcome to the Dreamer's Edge podcast. I'm sitting with
Nicholas. I write video game reviews for thedreamersedge.com.
Francois, librarian and part-time writer.
Chris, subtitler and occasional writer.
Eric, teacher, sometimes writer.
And I'm Dimitri, webmaster of thedreamersedge.com and movie critic. And now we're going to discuss the worst of the double O's.
Yeah, this is more the B-side episode, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And, we got a lot of movies to crap on, so let's not waste any time. I want to get us started, Eric.
Okay, my number
Everything
3, yeah, Righteous Kill with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino.
Oh, that was awful!
Yeah. Follow-up to Heat.
That's good. You know?
Yeah, everybody was looking forward to that. It's like, oh, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino are getting back together after their great scene in Heat.
This time they're buddies.
Yeah, exactly. And it starts with them like two brilliant actors, like high caliber actors that just don't seem to deliver. And it's a question of script and directing, and it just sucks.
Well,
it's just horrible.
It's also the fact that it comes in too late, because Al Pacino and Robert De Niro have sort of become caricatures of themselves at this point. So you're watching these two playing parodies of themselves, and you're like, okay, this is just stupid, I'm bored, and their hair is goofy. Their hair is really, really goofy.
Especially Al Pacino.
There was a certain hype about Heat. That match has been like, we've been waiting for that match since the early 80s. And, we're kind of waiting, and then finally Heat comes out, and he manages somehow to be genuine in some way. And I think it was a great idea to basically put Pacino and De Niro at opposite ends, like basically antagonists. And yeah, Righteous Kill is not righteous. It's hard to point a finger at exactly what goes wrong, except everything.
It just felt tired, is what it came down to. Just like tired writing, they're just like, oh, it doesn't matter, we've got the actors, people are going to come,
And I think Training Day has just pretty much ended the, corrupt cop movie. And like with Denzel Washington, I've seen as bad as a cop can be with a good actor. So seeing two veteran actors do the same stuff, it's like, no, seen it.
Yeah. Tired premise. Just horrible. My second film, Jumper. It's basically this kid who discovers powers, like he's able to jump time, and let's say he sees like a bank vault. It's all locked, so he can jump through, if you will, like on the other side.
Space.
Exactly, space.
Yeah.
What do you think of Samuel Jackson's contribution?
It's just bad. It's just bad.
How does the chasing work if he can jump from one place to the other?
Because the other ones can have like grappling hook, taser type things that can sort of hook you back. But the thing about this movie is also it came out right around the time of Lord of the Rings became popular, and everybody wanted to do a trilogy of everything. And so this movie feels like the first act of a grander movie, but the first act is so god-awful.
It's based on a series of YA novels.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so I think that's what they were hoping for sure. And it just, it felt completely flat.
So it jumps the shark.
Oh.
For movies, it's called Nuke the Fridge, so you can't use that.
Nuke the Fridge. Well, that's fairly recent, though. I wonder if that's going to make the list.
And the last one, The Spirit. Where do I begin?
You pronounced it disparate.
Yeah.
The thing with The Spirit is, I think it was a doomed project to begin with, because The Spirit is not interesting. What made The Spirit interesting is Will Eisner. Pioneering the comic book medium is what made The Spirit something to be revered. So if you change the medium, already you lose half the point. And then when you have another comic book artist who, is nowhere in the level of Will frickin' Eisner doing, I'm going to do my own thing with it, well, you're like, okay, well, there's nothing of The Spirit left.
And your own thing is really just Sin City Part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so grimy and everything, and when you read the Spirit comics, like, it's very bright, and yeah, some of it is messed up, but at the same time, it's, well, you were mentioning, it's true, the way he played with panels were completely original.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just horrible. Just horrible.
My biggest problem is that Frank Miller does not know how to edit. He was a first-time filmmaker. You know, he might learn. The scenes go on forever, long past their point of longevity, where it's like, there's a scene where Samuel Jackson tortures the spirit, and it goes on and on. It's like, I'm looking at my watch like, it's been 15 minutes of him ranting about this crap. Like, I am done.
Well, he got billed as co-director for Sin City, right? But I'm sure all he did was just hang out there and kind of point to his comic book.
Absolutely.
But he obviously absorbed stuff. You know what I mean? Like, but it's just like he didn't go to film editing school. Obviously, it's what it comes down to. Start with TV or something. I don't know, or a couple commercials.
Music videos, actually. He'd be great for music.
He probably would be. Yeah.
He could shove his dinosaurs everywhere he wants, and nobody would notice.
Exactly. Tar pits.
Alrighty then. Who's next? Frank.
Well, I'm going to start with number 3, The Wicker Man. Nicolas Cage in
wow,
really,
the remake of The Wicker Man.
Yes, absolutely. The remake of the Wicker Man.
I will say though, the source material is not that great to begin with. It's overrated to begin with. So
yeah, definitely. Like, of all the remakes to make, okay, we're gonna do that. But anyways, for those of you who don't want to suffer brain damage, what you can do is you can just go to YouTube and
the bees,
and
the bees.
Not the bees. You know, it's kind of spliced with shots of Nicolas Cage punching or kicking women, and it's actually really visceral. And then you've got people dressed up as animals, like intercourse.
It's good to watch that first, and then go watch the film and see how it all comes together.
That's sort of how I came through it, right? Like I was intrigued.
That movie makes absolutely no sense either. Because he falls into this by accident, and then the big twist is that things might not have been quite as accidental. But it all relies on him making, like, really harebrained decisions at the beginning of the movie that no one else would make. And, like, really? You were counting on that? Like, wow, you witches are clever, clever girls.
You had it all plotted, didn't you?
On number 2, Ghost Rider. There have been several incarnations of the Ghost Rider in comics. I remember the one from the mid-1980s. I'm trying to remember the artist's name, but it was a new kind of badass feel to it. Nicolas Cage, who's been a long-time Ghost Rider fan, decided to inflict upon all of us his performance as Johnny Blaze. I find it interesting that a flaming skull is more expressive in some moments in the movie than Nicolas Cage's sort of like sullen expression. It's kind of goofy. Like it did not work for me on so many levels, so there was a huge disappointment.
I slightly object to your pick of Ghost Rider for Worst of the Aughts. 2 reasons. One, I saw Ghost Rider Spirit's Vengeance. 2,
I did not, and therein lays the lesson. Don't go for more punishment. But anyways, sometimes curiosity kills the cat.
My second reason is back in the day, I had also seen Elektra.
Yeah, that was
okay. Can I amend my choices? Sorry, I blotted that out.
Because both movies are equally awful, but the difference is actually Nicolas Cage. I actually find what Elektra needed was a Nicolas Cage to save it. Because his performance as Johnny Blaze is so ridiculous that I'm like, I am not bored. This is awful, but I am not bored. He's drinking his candy martini and screaming half his lines randomly, and I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, he's never been the Johnny Blaze character, the Ghost Rider character. He's never been very high on the Marvel totem pole for me.
What do you mean? A character that has no personality but looks great on a T-shirt would not make a good movie?
Yeah, weird. It's like trying to compete with like the heavy metal T-shirts is almost like what they were doing. It's like, just make a character that is basically walked off these heavy metal T-shirts. But it was silly, ridiculous. It felt like a made-for-TV thing, but it had the added value of just having the ridiculous Nicolas Cage presence. That was just like, I'm not going to put any Nicolas Cage movie on the worst of list, is what it comes down to, because he makes it entertaining.
No, I hated Ghost Rider. I thought it was horrible. Like,
Did you ask for your money back?
No, I rented it.
Did you ask for your money back? My number 1 pick. Battlefield Earth. Battlefield Earth.
Man,
I have to say, like, considering the source material right off the bat, it's
A series of science fiction novels written by a known pedophile who started a cult.
yeah, pretty much. And
You're gonna get sued, dude. Don't say that.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Based on a series of novels by a known and confirmed pedophile who started a maybe religion, maybe cult. We don't really know.
Very, very good point. But screw it. Anyways, weird religion. There you go. I said it. So yeah, it's an all around bad. It starts bad. It gets worse. It's the very worst of science fiction. It's goofy in so many ways, both in the reaction of the characters, in some stupendous leaps of intuition by some, and it's just like basically taking on an alien empire with old Harrier jets.
That they learned how to fly in a week.
Pretty much,
It's what I thought about when I say I like my science fiction to be based on, somewhat of a reality. We know you can't learn to fly a jet in 2 weeks, so why even pretend you can do that in the movie? And it's like, why do aliens have like horrible, disgusting? They're all, they don't know what baths are, or a shower is. It's like they can fly spaceships, seriously, and they look gross like that. It's ridiculous.
One of the things that's commonly misinterpreted about the movie, though, for people who haven't read the books, which I don't recommend, by the way, is that the aliens that are on Earth that conquered us are the lowest of the lowest in their people.
Okay.
They're not like world leaders or world conquerors. They're like, take care of this stupid planet. You freaking loser, go there. Okay. So that's why they're grungy and you're meant to look down on them.
All right, but they didn't really convey that in the movie. I'm wondering also, why was everything filmed in a slant?
I was going to bring that up too.
That's insane. Were they trying to start a new thing like Tarantino was like, okay, from now on every movie's going to be filmed slanted, so that it's like, this is ridiculous.
Well, I think they were
the future.
Yeah, it's the future. I think it was filmed in Montreal, and I think maybe the camera was just like on one of those hills near Mont Royal or something.
Yeah, we'll correct it later on.
Yeah. We'll fix that in post.
It's shocking just how much of a train wreck it really is. It's considering the amount of money, the backing, the effort that went into it.
One of the writers, I'm forgetting his name, has started to kind of come out about some of the battles behind the scenes, and it's kind of interesting, in terms of, it was funded by a religion, for a reason, to kind of get the story out there. And so they felt that they had the right to kind of dictate how the story was going, so the line notes that he was getting back were just apparently ridiculous, and he tried to get out, but he couldn't, and, it's just like,
oh, God.
And it's interesting to read about, horrible to watch.
That just about sums it up.
All right,
before people steal my other picks.
All right, okay. Sure.
All right, so my number 3, since Battlefield Earth is taken, I will replace it with Meet the Fockers. I don't understand how you can build a whole movie about a family named Fokker and build a whole story around that.
I know, it's the worst joke from a mediocre movie to begin with, and it was like, let's take that joke and make a sequel out of it.
I mean, the first time I heard it, okay, his name's Fokker, that's kind of humorous. I hope it doesn't come back. It comes back every 5 minutes, and I was face palming the whole time, and my friends were laughing, and I was like, I need new friends, seriously.
This is why you stopped watching movies.
This is why I stopped watching movies with them. But yeah, it's like nothing happens besides the damn Fokker joke.
It feels like a SNL skit, like one of those skits of 5 minutes, and then they stretch it for an entire movie. You're like, oh my god, this is so awkward.
Yes, Stiller can't save it, man. I mean, and I'm bringing Dustin Hoffman on board. It's not going to be.
I was going to say, what is Dustin Hoffman and Barbara Streisand doing in this?
They don't have good actors can have some decent comedic timing, but I don't know. In this one.
Well, if you don't have the material, you know what I mean? The best actor in the world can't.
Yeah, I'm sure. I have no idea, but I bet you if you go to the credits for something like this, there's probably 20 writers.
Yeah.
And it's probably written the way an SNL sketch thing is. This bad writer's room. It's everyone's throwing in ideas. This will be funny, this will be funny, this will be funny. It's
we need a joke here. Fokker. All right. That's what we're doing.
You're sharp today, man.
Number 2, a classic. I'm going to go with episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Easily
That
the
was
worst
bad.
of the 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was still kind of on a high. I still liked episode 1 back then. It was still, I still considered it kind of a good movie.
What did you like in episode 1?
I did enjoy the pod race. It had good effects, and the fight scene at the end was cool. So it was still kind
That
of
was cool.
Yeah.
I'll
I was
give
still
you
kind of on the
that.
high of that. Let's forget the story. That's just okay. But I was still on the high of that, and then you learn it's going to be called Attack of the Clones, and you're like, oh, really? Okay, well, there's still hope. There's still hope. You watch it, and the plot makes even less sense than the first one, and you're like, what are they doing? Is everybody an idiot in this movie? What the hell? I mean,
Yes.
it's the clone of the guy that was trying to kill the senator that's against making the army. So the clones, you need to make an army with them. You're like, what are people thinking?
I know, he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. He's a good guy. And you're like, what happened, Obi-Wan? Like, what happened?
So then you figure, okay, I'm just going to enjoy watching the movie. It's Star Wars. The effects are going to be good, but the effects are so crummy. It's really like you can really see the blue screen.
I personally have much hatred for the new trilogy, but I will say, like, this one stands out especially. Like, I don't know, like haphazard plots, which, you know, and really the element of blue screen, you know. It's interesting how just all those shots are static, and you've got all these conversations going on, and you can just tell that the actors are not interacting with a non-existent environment. They're just standing in front of a blue screen. So you have all these long conversations that go back and forth.
Yeah.
And I'm just, you know, the whole romance is so unbelievably bad. It's just like
uncomfortable.
I'm watching this and I'm shifting in my seat. I'm going, oh my god! I have this knot in the pit of my stomach. I'm just like, what's going on here?
I just committed genocide. I love you.
Oh, that's an excellent point to bring out.
Yeah, it's like he's going for Shakespearean drama. He's talking about love, which is like a very complex, you know, emotion, love, loss, the dark side, this and that. You know, it's you know, the original movies kept it simple. You know, they were space opera, they were, you know, action pulp. You know, all of a sudden you're talking about falling to the dark side, which is a lot more complex. And Lucas just doesn't have the chops to write something like that. And it shows.
That's a good point. I think also the acting, getting back to that, is one of the huge problems, and I think it's also a generational thing. Because he was trying to do the old serials, and he wrote dialogue that's about at that level at best, you know. But when he did the original trilogy, he had actors who knew what he was referencing and who could sort of fire back dialogue in that style. If you look at Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher, you know, the way they bounce back dialogue is sort of like an old, you know, 40s, 50s, very low budget movie.
Speakeasy.
Exactly. And if you watch episode 2 with that in mind, you can tell that the actors are trying to do that but don't know what it is. Especially the younger actors like Natalie Portman and Hayden Christensen. So it's just bad. You know, it's just like deliberately bad acting that doesn't refer to anything real. It's...
No, the whole thing falls flat. And it's some of the casting is not bad. You know what I mean? Like in that, you would expect more from these actors, and it's just you just don't get it.
Well, Lucas
and your excuse though, you know, for them that you know they don't have the grounding in it, like we do. We grew up with cartoons, like we all did. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, we're the era of the video generation, like you know. And these are people who are supposed to be actors, and you know, so they've gone to acting school. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like there's just no excuse. It's like there's obviously a hand of the director in there, you know?
Right.
And especially film actors. I mean,
Or they just gave up
most
halfway
of
through.
them like should know these films.
All right, number one bit.
I'm going to cheat a little bit. It's a 2010 movie, but I'm not waiting 10 years to talk about it. So I'm going to go with Avatar: The Last Airbender. Which
I love that cartoon.
yeah, the cartoon is great. Nickelodeon cartoon.
Are you telling me that James Cameron made a bad movie?
No.
When he did the 3D stuff was pretty... No, wait a minute.
The wrong Avatar.
It's because the movie's not called Avatar at all.
Really?
It's just called The Last Airbender.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to call it The Last Airbender then. And so yeah, they basically took the first season. They summarized every episode in 10-minute briefs, and they just made a movie out of basically 10 minutes. 10 minutes of each episode. And you watch this, it's like Aang gets kidnapped 4 times because you know in the series he gets kidnapped in 4 different episodes, and the movie gets kidnapped
because it sounds
4
like
times.
John Carter.
So after having given up on the plot, I was like, I know what the plot's happening. I don't care. Let's at least appreciate the special effects. They were well drawn in the cartoon. And all it is like, I'm going to throw a fireball. I'm going to block it with a water shield. And that's the whole movie all the time. That's all they do. It's ridiculous. It's bad. It's very, the 3D is horrible when they try to put it in. So you get absolutely nothing out of it.
That's so frustrating because the cartoon, the animators actually copied the styles of real martial artists, and actually with every type of bending, air, fire, water, and earth, they've actually picked a different martial art for it to be consistent amongst the benders. Like, they took so much care into that. Like, you're making your movie, you could actually take real martial artists and just done deal. Yeah. It's like, you don't even bother to do that. That's frustrating.
Yeah.
Well, they got a lot of trouble just from the casting overall.
The racial controversy of that.
Yeah, well, for sure. I'm not too bad about racial, as long as it's consistent. I'm kind of have a problem with where you have like two white guys in a completely Eskimo village where like Inuit, sorry. My apologies to all Eskimos out there. But the whole village is Inuit. And you have two white guys, and it's like they're completely out of place. And be consistent. Come on, make it make sense at least.
Yeah, it's a burden, but.
And M. Night Shyamalan, I mean, his career had so much promise after what was it?
Sixth Sense?
Yeah. And now it's just what happened.
Well, here's the case where, like you said, like the source material is really strong.
Mm.
That's all the episodes in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And
but he obviously didn't appreciate it. You know what I mean? Like, he missed what made the storylines good,
The screenwriter probably watched.
Yeah, it's good.
Then the director went, yeah, I get that.
But the screenwriter is kind of an idiot, because the way the first season is constructed, it's sort of an odyssey. And if you're just looking for the continuity, the bare bones continuity of the story, you take the first 2 episodes, you take the last 2 episodes, you cut all the traveling in between. Because all they do is get from point A to point B and have unrelated adventures. That's all they do. And there you go. You've got your movie right there. It's 4 episodes. That's 1 hour and 40 minutes. That's it.
So you're saying we're not going to get the sequel?
They did sequel basis at the end there, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Mine are just movies that I think are kind of a little bit overhyped, and it just bugs me. So number 1 is Cop Out by Kevin Smith.
Oh,
everybody knows that.
Everyone knows that one's bad, but no, the number 3, and we've talked about it before, is just like I'm going to cheat here because it's a 2-parter: Kill Bill 1 and 2.
Ooh,
it's like watching a bad video game. You can see what it's doing. It's like way too pleased with itself, and it's just like I just don't buy into the world or the screenwriter or the director or any of the actors by that point. Like, there's little snippets of it that are kind of like, oh, okay, maybe entertaining, but overall it just left me so cold.
After Jackie Brown, I was like, wow, what's Tarantino going to do? And then Kill Bill. Yeah. And it's okay that he does something different, which is fine, but...
I found it kind of crass and sloppy, and you can see a lot of like skill at one level, but it's just like it just felt like it was just put to no good use.
I actually liked.
A lot of people do, you know what I mean? But it's just like it's one that's just like I just don't get,
I mean, I wouldn't put it in the best of list, which I didn't. For those of you who listened last week, but no, I will defend it. I think it is entertaining in its own right. It only aims to entertain and sort of have in jokes with like movie geeks, and doesn't really achieve much more than that. And that I'll certainly grant. Anybody who says like this movie's profound, no, it's not. It's sort of fun.
I'm sort of leaning the same way. I understand what Chris is saying. Like, I was disappointed in a larger sense by Kill Bill, not so much because it wasn't entertaining and it had some decent moments, but I just feel that after Pulp Fiction, that he's not challenging himself as a director. He can really sit down and write a script that is going to be that can achieve much more than Kill Bill ever could. Kill Bill is like it's cool action scenes. It's got some wit to it, but I find that he's capable of doing more, and that his legacy. One day maybe we might look back on it.
And like even the action scenes, I felt like they were just somewhat static. Like they were beautiful and so kinetic, but at the same time they weren't driving to an exciting conclusion. Like I wasn't watching an action film.
Yeah,
I was just watching someone kind of like, okay, now I can do the this, and now I can do the that, and now I can do the this, and it's just like, whatever, buddy. So it's just like I'm going from level to level of your movie video game in your mind, and I don't care. I don't want to be along on this game.
That's a really good point. I think Tarantino still has quite a lot of talent to offer as a dramatic director, but Kill Bill does prove that he is not an action director. Those scenes are not dynamic. They don't have the flow of the movies they're referencing at all.
No.
There's something about action that he just doesn't quite grasp as a director. I agree with that.
When your protagonist is essentially, for all intents and purposes, getting hurt, but it's still like invincible, there's no drama. There's no drama whatsoever. The whole point about action movies, you need a stake in it, and revenge is a stake of some sort, but if you don't have a lead up to it, which makes you really care intensely about the character, you don't get that. You don't have that element of drama which is going to draw you and it's going to make you care. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's like I said, they're fantastic action scenes. Like, when she takes on the crazy 88.
I don't think it's that great.
Well, I personally love that particular scene,
mm-hmm.
but it goes on and on and on. But again, I said, like, from a technical standpoint, I kind of enjoyed it, and from an action standpoint, the pieces were there. The stake itself,
there's moments in the film, but yeah, true.
My favorite moments of Kill Bill, why I like it, are more the one-on-one conversation moments. Like the bride's conversation with the Japanese sword maker at the sushi bar is brilliant. It makes me laugh every time I see it.
Number 2 is, again, I probably, though, in this one, I might get a lot of support in the room, I'm not sure, but a movie that has some gems. So, again, those momentary bits, but just, like, fails as a movie overall. Understandable, I guess, since the filmmaker died, but AI.
I actually like AI much more than the average fan. I think it's good until the end.
Which is when
which ending? Which ending?
Well, that's part of the problem with it, but it's as soon as the robots start talking about that is the beauty of humanity, you're like, no. I just watched 2 hours of your bloody movie. It was very much showing me unequivocally that human beings are crap.
No, I felt like I was watching a bad Isaac Asimov I Am Robot movie at a certain point, and it's just like, come on, just get this over with.
No, some of the visuals are great, and Jude Law as the sex robot is awesome.
It was genius. Well cast, and he was just great.
And come on, Haley Joel Osment was terrific in that role.
Eesh.
He is sufficiently creepy and one-noted to the point of being absolutely annoying, but that's what his character is.
A robot.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like, I actually liked the way it started. I like it for that. It was just like, okay, I'm buying this. This is interesting, and then it just didn't deliver in any way by the end. And I was almost annoyed and angry at the end. It's just like, get this.
I remember there was a conversation with Salman Rushdie and somebody else, and he was talking about how when the robot jumps, I think that should have been the ending. And I was like, well, Salman, I think you're right. You should have been the editor of this film. Like, I think, when the robot jumps, boom, that's your ending right there. Thank you. No need to have, like, oh my god.
Yeah.
That was painful.
Yeah, no, it's the last 10 minutes are some of the most awful filmmaking I have ever seen from a professional.
And then Spielberg was,
and it completely pulls the rug out of the rest of the story.
And Spielberg was saying, well, that was part of the ending that Kubrick had, and it's like, yeah, I know, but so I'm sure he would have cut it off.
And number 1, and this is one that, while I can really appreciate what it's doing, and I like what it's doing, and at a certain level, I give my money and did give my money to this over something like the rebirth of a franchise like Transformers. People were so proud of it for just telling a story. Was District 9.
I agree about it being overrated.
It's just like, come on, it's just a movie. Like, it's just, what the hell? Like, you got, and it was well
just
done.
Telling a story, but what story?
Not much of one.
Exactly. It's a classic.
But it just got the way
buddy
they
cop
talked.
story.
The way they talked about it is just, I don't know.
It's 48 hours in Africa with aliens.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
But the big thing,
describing it,
And it's in no way a bad film, but it's just the hype that was surrounded it. The fact that it became so close that it was a contender for the Oscars. Like, it was like, come on, like, how'd that happen?
I think the fact that it came from South Africa, which is a breath of fresh air, it approaches the subject matter slightly differently. I wasn't like freaking out
Well,
Like,
it's like,
oh my
this
god,
is what
it's bad,
science
but-
fiction usually does. You know,
Yeah.
like it talks about a social thing by placing it in the future. You know,
Right.
like this is actually one of like the tropes of science fiction. So like, why was this suddenly the most brilliant thing for someone to do? It was, you know, it deserved the attention for what it did on the budget it did. You know?
Yeah.
You know, for sure. You know,
But I think that the whole parallel with apartheid was the thing that elevated, so
but
to
it's
speak.
not like it's a subtle analogy
No,
or
Yeah,
a new
not at
one.
all. Not at all, and on both cases. But I get a feeling that part of the reason why there was so much hype around it is that a lot of people felt like, oh my god, this is apartheid, but with aliens.
going back to like the best science fiction, the talk does do this kind of thing. Talks about the social thing through science fiction, but talking about the social thing that maybe it's a little bit taboo to discuss. There is no taboo about discussing apartheid.
Especially when
You know-
all you're saying is that it's bad.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like it didn't
Yeah.
even need this clumsy metaphor, you know, to tell the story. You know, it could have been told anyway. Like, it's fine they told it this way, but it's just like, don't give them props for telling the story in this way.
All right, so I'm gonna go next then. My 3 picks for worst movies of the aughts or double O's. I'm going to start with number 3 pick, Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen.
Yeah.
Now that movie came out in 2009, right around the writer's strike in terms of production, and no movie demonstrates better what fiction would be like without writers. It's just, what the heck is this thing? It makes no sense to me from beginning to end.
Yeah. Farting robot planes.
Just the story, it's like, oh no, the Fallen has returned. He's a Prime, and only a Prime can kill Prime, so only Optimus can kill him because Optimus is a Prime. Only Optimus got killed by Starscream, who is not
Not a
a
Prime.
Prime. What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, it's funny because I never saw the movie, but now it's really funny. I get it. I get why people are complaining about this. Oh my god!
Is that the?
There's
That's
a
the
lot
one.
more going on, for sure.
That's the one with the two racist cars there. The two.
Yes. They are what Michael Bay makes fun of when he talks about N-words, not black people. That's what it comes down to.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. It's
Oh,
cringe.
yeah.
It's completely cringeworthy.
It was bad enough with the gold teeth and whatnot and the jive talking. I was like, but when they revealed that they're illiterate, I just lost it. That was it. Like that was it. Like that was the point where it's like, oh, I'm sorry, but you can't back down now. Like you can't say, oh, it was by accident. You know.
It's those two characters who make me fear for the world when his Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie comes out.
But Dimitri, sometimes you just want to go to the movie, turn your brain off, and just watch robots fighting.
And if that's the case, then you're stuck with such poor editing that you're not really sure what's happening half the time. So you walk out of it more confused.
Good point.
There's all kinds of things where it's like, this is where writers come in, because at some point there's a big old robot. He is a turncoat Decepticon. He turns into a plane like most Decepticons, and the two heroes board him, and they go like, "Oh crap, we got to get to Egypt." So the robot goes like, "I can get you to Egypt. How? I can teleport." And I'm like, why did you establish that he can turn into a plane if they're not gonna fly there? Like, I don't understand this freaking thing.
Just to do it. Just to do it.
My number 2 pick is Uwe Boll movie. Come on, you can't have a list of worst movies in the aughts without naming Uwe Boll. So I'm gonna go with Alone in the Dark in 2005, starring Tara Reid and Christian Slater.
Oh, I remember that one.
It's the most incoherent piece
That's
of
the one where
story.
he's kind of like a paranormal detective or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was bad.
Like, you know when you say a movie doesn't make sense, and I just named Transformers as an example of oh, look, this robot teleports when he could have just no, I mean the movie doesn't make sense as in the scenes in sequence don't really stick together. They're in the middle of the city. They go in the underground lair for the final fight. And then he blows up the underground lair and runs away, and then comes out of the corridor, and he's in the middle of of a farm. And I'm like, what the hell happened? Like, why did the city turn into a farm? No explanation ever.
And your top?
Oh, my number one pick, sorry. My number one pick is probably a more controversial choice, but I'm going to go with 2003's Old Boy. Korean movie that I hate with a passion. They're making an American remake soon.
Really?
Ugh, I hate every ounce of that movie. I want.
Is it because he doesn't use the hammer the proper way?
What?
Use the hammer like on the other side, where you remove the nails. That's how he uses his hammer.
No, I think what really drove me up the wall is its treatment of incest. It doesn't really make sense. I unfortunately cannot talk about what infuriated this movie without spoiling it.
Yeah.
So, alright, so if you want to see Old Boy, and it's a celebrated movie, maybe you do, please stop listening for the next minute in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the big reveal is that he's being manipulated by a guy who used to have sex with his sister, and for his revenge, he's going to make him have sex with his daughter. And they were like, well, if the bad guy thinks that incest is not wrong, why does he consider it a revenge to have the guy have sex with his daughter? That doesn't make an ounce of sense. Second, the guy is disgusted by incest. That's why he reported the bad guy in the first place. And he's totally disgusted when he realizes he's been fucking his daughter. So what does he do? He says, I'm going to forget that she's my daughter. That way I can continue fucking her. I'm sorry, but that doesn't even make sense in terms of moral core. None of this makes sense, and it's disgusting. It's just disgusting.
Yeah, I don't understand why that movie got the... And I tried watching the rest of the Vengeance cycle, and none of them are good. I'm sorry.
How are we going to remake this in the United States? That just sounds horrible.
I have no idea.
Brought to you by Planned Parenthood.
Okay,
Stop that.
Alright, so, if you want to share with us your own picks for bad movies in the aughts, you can write us at mail@thedreamers@shop.com or post a comment right here on a message board. We read them, we comment back. We're friendly people. Speaking of friendly, you can Facebook friend us at our Facebook page. If you go on our page and just look on the upper left corner, you can click on the little button, Facebook us, and become one of our Facebook friends or Twitter friends. And that's it for us. And the next time we are talking about the best movies of the 90s.
All right.
All right. See you then.